A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Already some responses, likes, reacts, all that fun stuff coming in there. Rick Reyes, hey, Andrew, hey to you as well, as we get into, one of our most important days of the week for this program, the way we do it anyway, because Friday is a very important one. Angel Rueda with, I'm not good at dissecting emojis, but flag, beer, heart. So you love drinking in America? I don't know if that's the right interpretation, but maybe you got the right spirit, as it is Friday. So if those of you all on the cusp or already into your weekend, a mazel tov, congratulations. And also know that we are doing our own celebration of the end of the week, so to speak. Free for all Friday is what we call it, because that means that we get into everything as much as we can. Anyway, there's never quite enough time for even just the local stuff, as we do it the rest of the week, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. But on Friday, we are definitely getting into, what's important to, we've got our blind spots, we got our things that we don't necessarily focus on, so this is the time for y'all to bring that up, or the things outside of the area, because sure, we usually take the lens of things that affect us here in El Paso, and yes, there is a level that we understand is reasonable and not, and y'all know that too. But in any case, this is the time when, screw it, let's get into it. Let's get into all of it. Just keep it clean if you're calling in, but we are going to have those open lines. Well, they would be open if they weren't already full up. So they are open, and you can call in as soon as there's availability, because this seems to be an important day of the week to some of y'all, as well, as excited as people get, as we also have Marky Mandingo, good afternoon, and go Chihuahuas from there. A couple of things I want to mention as we get ready for the weekend, of those already dropping those likes and reacts. James Holmes, Angel Rueda, Flaco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and more. Flaco saying that he's going on Sunday. Yes, today is the opening day for the El Paso Chihuahuas, which is notable, if only because, it's the 10th year of it. It's kind of honestly a little bit crazy to me that it's already been 10 years of the ballpark. But hey, if you're going to go for the opening season, and that's just nuts in a couple of ways to me. But that's going on. So that's happening. Also, as we get closer to Easter weekend, El Paso CBP is reminding that not everything crosses the border, y'all, particularly if you are having issues with agricultural products. They also do note that the CBP One mobile app is available for those wanting to expedite the I-94 travel permit process. If you know, because that's not one I am familiar with, among other things. But also just know that moving across of and not declaring all agricultural items, liquor, currency, or monetary instruments over $10,000 can cause delays and or fines. And cascarones are restricted to 12 per passenger, and the shells may be decorated, etched, or painted, but they must be clean, dry, and free of any egg residue. So just remember all of that. And Marky Mandingo with a cynical take, I'll say that. Money-making time is Chihuahua games. Give us Uber drivers lots of work. So maybe it works out for you, but I guess that's one way to look at it. Louis Panado waiting for President Biden to throw out the first pitch. I don't think that's scheduled there, unless there's something else they're trying to get at. And also Ida Beza Gardner celebrating what we celebrate today. That is, of course, Free for All Friday. Though, again, a couple more things I want to mention right before we get to the calls, just while we have the verbal elbows being thrown already. They don't have to be, but let's just defer to experience so far. Did want to mention that one of a restaurant in El Paso named a finalist for the prestigious James Beard Awards. I mean, it may not be the best known one. I think like Michelin stars are probably the best known award for restaurants, but this one is important to those that know about food and talk about it, like some restaurant people I've been talking about that are into that and into that sphere beyond just the kind of restaurant business being recognized for it. Yeah, Elementi being recognized as one of the nominees here, one of the finalists, that is, for it. There were a few different ones that were nominated and had come up, so congrats to them. Hopefully it can be a better one. And also to the Casner Rain celebration that went on today, had a chance to talk with the Frontera Land Alliance, the executive director, Janae Fields over there, and some exciting things are coming for that because, among other things, the whole UXO situation, unexploded ordnance, that makes it a serious look but don't touch situation for the vast majority of the land that is being talked there. We do have that graphic handy, so I might as well pop it up just for your edification. But in that area, the one that is in the dark shaded for those that are looking online, yeah, whole lot of blow you up stuff in a good chunk of that. But there has been announcements as part of the celebrations that there are plans, a little bit undefined, either in the works or ready to go. That part kind of remains to be seen, but it'll definitely involve Fort Bliss because that also, among other things, was Fort Bliss lands before it ended up, when it was both a range and after it was a range and just kind of a area you can't go through. That's why there are all those, Fort Bliss Military Reservation, hasta la vista. That's the phrase I remember most from them, those signs over there. So that's a maybe positive thing. More details to come, and I'm sure we'll be featuring that on some of our programming before too long. So those are the kind of interesting and or lighthearted things. But then, and also to answer some of y'all's questions from earlier in the week, we had mentioned this yesterday, but our news partners at KFOX 14 have a little bit more detail about the misinformation that caused over 1,000 to surrender at the border wall, not too far from Escarate previously. So in yesterday, that is, saying that there was another one, I'm just going to call it mimetic warfare. That's the only way I can think to describe it, of someone putting out a bad idea. In this case, literally, it was bad information that then caused, in small groups, not the 1,000 all at once, but our news partners at KFOX 14 note that over 1,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, surrendered themselves to agents after reports indicated that migrants may have been misinformed regarding current immigration policies and initiatives. This sounds familiar for those that have been listening anytime in the past couple of months, really. Officials say that many of the migrants claimed they received information regarding CBP immigration policies via various social media platforms, and that specifically that they stated, these posts, that if they surrendered to agents in El Paso at a certain location, they would be allowed to remain in the U.S. Again, sounds similar to some other ideas that have apparently percolated through, and you start putting through persuasive, if unfounded, ideas through a desperate population that we've been continuing to talk about. Well, actions like this can happen. Now, in this case, all of those involved, according to Border Patrol, were either immediately removed to Mexico, still under Title 42, which, yes, is still being enforced until at least May, or up until May in any case, or under the Title 8 removal proceeding. So the slower immigration courts, etc., but for immediate processing, not actually like asylum processing, among other things. And in continuing the fallout with also the fire from the Juarez Immigration Detention Center, the Mexican president, AMLO, actually set to visit Ciudad Juarez in the coming days because, yeah, there is a lot of questions and even, again, pending prosecutions, among other things, that are expected to come up there. So he's going to be meeting and doing some other meetings also on there in Ciudad Juarez on with doctors on unrelated matters. So don't know exactly when that visit will come, but yeah, I think that will be another highlighting of this whole situation. Anyway, those are just a few of the things top of mind that, yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of other things today, but I want to at least get those out of the way, as we also have more people that are chiming in, including Rick Reyes, if I didn't say that already, and Austin Redfern. What is up, Talk El Paso family? So let's just do it. Let's just dive right into the phone lines, as we've already talked through most of this segment, but hey, let's at least dive into a couple. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much, Andrew. A topic, since it's Free for All Friday, just
Absolutely.
wanted to address something that Raul said the other day.
Okay.
He had said that he, being a liberal, does not want to take away anybody's guns. Okay. Well, he may not be, or any of his friends, but there are some politicians and influential people out there that have said either there's no reason, absolutely no reason at all, for anybody but someone in the military or a police officer to even have a gun.
I will say I've heard that reasoning statements, etc., including from the White House, mostly in reference to basically the phrase assault rifles is the one they're using. I'm not agreeing with or condoning that specific phrase, but that's the one that's the phrase they are using when they are making such similar statements. So I've heard it that way, though I will say I've heard, maybe not from such specific sources, but other rumblings of saying that, yeah, if you're not in essentially civil or military service, uniformed in either case, that there is no need for it, which, again, particularly when you then combine it with what I'm hearing from very similar sources that say that about things like defund the police, and not in the, well, I want to see a redistribution of resources, but in the, no, seriously, like, get rid of them kind of rhetoric. I mean, you can find a lot of stuff online, but I'm just looking at the hashtags, basically, which, okay, I got to say that does not make sense to me.
Correct. Well, I agree, but let me go a step further. There were actually individuals that were talking about all guns, and I do remember them over the last 25, 30 years. One of them was the late Major Owen, and that he was a Democratic representative in Congress. He was one of them. Dianne Feinstein, in her famous 1994 interview with not with CNN, I'm sorry, 60 Minutes. And it basically, she said, and I remember the interview, if she had the votes, she would have said, turn them all in, Mr. and Mrs. America, every single one of them. Michael Gartner, former president of NBC News, Brian Gumbel, NBC anchor, also said ban them all. Larry King said ban them all. And of course, our local Beto O'Rourke, hell yes, we're going to take away your AK-47s and your AR-15s.
So I will say that particularly that last one kind of shows the divide that I see in these type of statements. I mean, they're all about gun control, gun restrictions, etc. So they're all in the same vein, don't get me wrong, but that's what at least most politicians on the left willing to put forth when they are talking about this issue about, again, assault rifles, the phrase they are using, but often talking about modern sporting rifles, semi-automatic weapons, rifles, black scary guns, the whole kit and caboodle that comes along with that. Though there are, again, a few, and again, anyone that really wants to see it, just have to go on Twitter and search the hashtag It's the Guns, either with or without the apostrophe. I don't think it really matters. And you will find a lot. And, like, sure, I am sure there's some bot accounts doing that, but from at least a cursory scrolling, there seems to be more than a few actual people that are also saying this. So it's, I mean, although there's been people saying that, no, that's not, no one's really saying that. And yet, I don't find that bearing out and being an accurate reflection of reality.
Yes, well, you're correct. And like I said, it only took me about 30 minutes of research on the internet to find these people and their quotes. But, I do believe in background checks, universal background checks. Yeah, I do think if you want to carry a handgun, you need to have the license. And I've never been for constitutional carry. I'm not big on that.
Okay.
But licensing schemes just for the ordinary citizen, and then taxation. Well, that goes a little too far. Seattle tried taxing guns and ammunition, and what happened was that the retailers moved out of town. They wound up losing more in sales tax revenue than they made on the actual taxing of bullets and firearms themselves.
I will say this. I mean, I am often and vociferously said I am in favor of more responsibly armed Americans, and responsibility in this case also involves not even just proficiency, learning, studying the machinery that you are then planning to be using, because that's effectively what it is. It's a tool. It is a machine. It serves a purpose when operated correctly, and there's a lot of people not operating it correctly. But the requirement of that, frankly, okay, I would, and this is going to be a compound statement, so anyone clipping this to make me look bad later, know that I hate you. I would be in favor of like requirements for licensing, training, etc., if and only if there would be absolutely no way that it could then be like twisted to make it prohibitive for the average person to be able to access and get to, because we know damn well that there are going to be ways that this could be twisted in order to make it you have to do the training. It's offered on the 8th, it's offered on the 32nd day of every month on separate leap years, like that kind of thing. And that's the only time you can do it. I mean, there's definitely ways to make it and put it out of reach if that were to be the goal. So I think if there were some assurance, and I have no idea how to make that happen, by the way, this is not me espousing a plan, just saying this would be the scenario if we could figure out how to achieve it. If there were a way to make it so that this would be accessible, available, and possible, I think most people would be in favor of that. But it's that second part, that what will someone do with this power that is available to them if they don't like the concept overall, that then, gives me, and I'm sure plenty of others, pause.
Yes, I agree. It's right. It's ripe for abuse. But anyway, one more thing, and I'll close with this. As for Donald Trump's indictment,
sure,
I'm not going to make any comments on that until I actually know what he was charged with. But I'm sure two of your callers that like to frequently call in have already popped either the cork or twisted the cap off their favorite spirit or champagne. So I'll leave it with that. You have a good weekend.
Yeah, sure thing. You have a good one there. Do appreciate the point in the call. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
And with that, let's go ahead and take that first break, as we've gone well past the time we're supposed to. But hey, it's free for all Friday. Yeah, we'll just make sure we get the calls that we can. Anyway, if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, including Louis Pinato disagreeing with me, I'm assuming, saying no understanding of the word infringement, and you obviously not understanding how the Supreme Court works. But anyway, we can get into it. Let's discuss it. This is what we do on Fridays. That number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at the McRae exit ramp. A couple of vehicles blocking the right shoulder, causing minor delays. 54 south between Stan Roberts and Kenworthy, down to a 10-minute delay. Artcraft is a 5-minute backup. Bumper-to-bumper traffic east and westbound between West Side and the 10. And Montana Avenue eastbound Yarborough out to Desert Meadows, 7-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
The Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg is pursuing a political witch hunt against Donald Trump. Former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker joins me on The Truth with Lisa Booth. And listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing. Or this one. I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better, unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Is your tub worn out, but you're not sure who to trust to replace it? With over 2 million successful bath remodels, people trust Bath Fitter because we know how to do it right. We've been custom designing and manufacturing baths for over 35 years. Our unique tub-over-tub installation takes as little as a day with no demo to fit your busy schedule. And we offer a lifetime warranty on every tub. That's how confident we are in our quality and durability. Bath Fitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. And a lot of conversation, a lot of things, a lot of stuff we're delving into because, hey, it's Friday, or Friday, as Bernadette Van de Cole is there. Happy Free for All Friday. Appreciate that. And again, comments coming in among other things. Edgar Ortiz is also letting us know he's on board. So keep the comments coming in throughout. Also, those likes and reacts that we certainly appreciate, including Ambra Banda, Ida Beza Gardner, James Holmes, Angel Rueda, Blanco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and more. That's just basically over on the Facebook, which I know not where everyone is or tuned in, but if you are there, we do appreciate it. It helps us with all those algorithmic things as we continue our mission to talk about the things that affect us in the borderland and today beyond, and have live local talk radio in the region because, damn it, I still think we deserve it. And more comments coming in, including Austin Redford chiming in saying that politicians using the term assault weapons is pure ignorance. It's a punchline convenience. All firearms kill. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. Owning a firearm bears great responsibility. Respect the firearm. It's not a toy. Certainly agree with you on that last part. And anyone that like shoots a video with them like clowning around with a gun, just respect dropped in my mind. Like, I don't care who you are, what you're doing, but like just doing that is serious. Anyway, Joanne's also chiming in over from the YouTube saying that what psychiatric disorder will prevent one from buying a weapon, and who will make that decision? The doctor, the court? So, I mean, that's some of the questions that are being put forth. And I think where a lot of the questions you're kind of getting at come into when the discussion of like red flag laws have been coming up, the extreme protection orders, however they may be put up, most oftenly called or referred to in most states as red flag laws. And Louis Bonato, in response to the my not understanding the referred infringement, saying, I know what the Second Amendment says, but again, you also need to pay attention to what the legal proceedings have been going on around this. It has been ruled that there is no right that is not subject to regulation. And just because the word infringement comes there, that's that kind of bull-headed attitude. I've been talking about this head in the sand that nope, nothing can be done. Now I'm not going to do it. No, like seriously, there obviously is restrictions on what your rights entail. I mean, even if it does come with the word shall not be infringed, which also notably the infringement is not the word in the actual amendment. So if you're going to try to quote that one, maybe know what's in the amendment. But if you're going to say try to drive a tank through your neighbor's yard and park it there, and they're saying, what, you can't put that here, saying, what, I'm bearing arms here, you can't infringe that. Like, it gets, I mean, that's an absurd example, but it kind of proves the point that, yeah, there are limits and there are things that are restrictable. And to not be a part of the conversation more than anything and just saying, nope, no, you're wrong, no matter what, we're kind of always opposed to that, of being like, no, we're not, you're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to bring it up. No, you're a bad person. Like, we're just always opposed to that. But, and if you got bad examples of it, like, sure, the laws should be metered equally, but just saying, to not even have the conversation leads to the conversation happening without you, which is not a great thing either, particularly if you do have a certain standpoint that you want to bring up. So to that point, and to continue having discussions and other things, we of course have that phone line. So if you want to get on the line, that number to do so is of course 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have right now, if I got my list up here correctly, Eric on the east side with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. I've followed, for some time how full-blown militant racists and white supremacists and neo-Nazis have moved from the fringe, and then they started calling themselves the alt-right, and then they were able to pass on their values onto the alt-light, and then how those values eventually integrated themselves into mainstream conservative social values. And yesterday, you condemned the Great Replacement narrative. You said it was a white supremacist, I believe. Was that right?
I mean, that's my understanding of that theory. Yes, that essentially the white race is being replaced.
People are being replaced by people of color and stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've mentioned this in the past, and this ties into how these racist, white supremacist values have been fully integrated into conservative talking points promoted by mainstream Republican information sources and politicians, which is this, you've spoken out against using this label open borders. You said it does a disservice to the Border Patrol agents who enforce the border laws.
Yeah, because open borders signifies that there are no laws, there are no enforcement, that it's a unsecured frontier, which again is literally not the case. It's a rhetorical point here, but I still take issue with it.
Right. But I think there is a bigger criticism and reason to be opposed to that, the use of that label, because it inherently promotes the white supremacist narrative and conspiracy theory of the Great Replacement, saying, and these are mainstream Republican people and conservatives who are believing that Democrats and Joe Biden have open borders to bring brown people into the country to vote for Democrats down the line, and to reduce the white population. That white supremacist narrative is openly promoted with that term, open borders. Like they're not even hiding it anymore. It's an openly racist and white supremacist term that promotes racism against Hispanics. Hispanics don't inherently vote Democrat. If you look at the numbers, they're a very diverse community. Cubans, these people, generally Christian Hispanic immigrants, many of them are fleeing these bad socialist countries, like Cuba and Venezuela, and they're usually the most ardent conservatives and Republican voters. But that doesn't prevent conservative media and Republicans from saying that, hey, Democrats want Hispanics into the country to reduce the white population. And, you could see how that promotes the Great Replacement theory, correct?
I can see the link you're trying to draw here, but I'm going to draw a distinction between those that are, most of the people that I think end up bringing up the open borders thing are not espousing the far as you're talking about. There was a concern that comes with the idea of how our immigration policies go, and I do disagree with the way they characterize it here, but I don't think everyone using that phrase is straight on with the, essentially, when it comes to the white replacement theory, is talking about white genocide. That's part of the parcel of what's going on there, and I'm not trying to speak for anyone here, but the way this is talked about, that doesn't end up fitting with the way I see the discussions happening anyway.
Oh, well, mainstream right-wing information sources do say that Democrats are trying to bring Hispanics into the country so that they'll vote for Democrats to reduce the white vote. This is mainstream stuff, and
sure, I'm familiar with that narrative. Yes,
white supremacy being promoted. So I do see this being an enormous issue culturally, and it does lead to white supremacist terrorist attacks like the ones on our city. And I wanted to get some clarification on something you had said yesterday.
Sure.
Well, yeah, you said, because you said I wasn't listening to you correctly, and this goes into how I perceived what you said 2 days ago as being a lie when you said that my understanding of your position was reductionist when you defended Barbara's white supremacist blog called "Our Race is Our Nation: America Balkanized" or Balkanization of America. But you said more diversity is going. All right, you said All right. The idea more diversity is going to lead to awful things happening. I believe the idea is bunk, and I disagree with it entirely.
Uh-huh.
That's the idea. But the call that when you had defended that white supremacist information source, you did repeat that.
Let's make it perfectly clear. I'm not defending that source here. So if you're want to make sure you're accurate about what I'm saying, I disagree with some of the foundational things said in there. But again, drawing a distinction that there are people who can even, just because the source is bad doesn't mean that, broken clock twice a day kind of thing. That I do think that there is a concern with the potential of balkanization and anyone supporting that or wanting to do that. And it comes in a whole lot of different ways. Ethno-states, apartheid regulations. There's a whole lot of ways this can be put forth. The Reconquista. There's a whole lot of ways that we even see this in different parts of the country or even our own put forth. And I'm opposed to all of them. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Back to that quote, in the past you said it does have a cause for concern, a cause if things are not handled right. Look at the rise of ethno-nationalism. We've seen identity politics.
Yeah.
I don't see, how do you reconcile those views? You're telling people that it does have a cause of concern, the rise of ethno-nationalism and identity politics, and that blog post view that there's going to be some race war. You said that a broken clock is right twice a day. That's literally you defending that information source. Literally.
No, that's not me defending the information source. That's me saying there may be a grain of truth there that they're taking a very wrong position on. Like if that source were to say the sky is blue, I might say, okay, it probably is. I'm probably still going to go check, but it can be accurate. And I think that there is a facet of it, even if, again, their total conclusion that diversity inherently leads to conflict. That's some, not Jeffrey Dahmer. Who was it? That's some helter-skelter Manson family kind of stuff here. I'm not like deep into serial killer documentaries, but I know that was their just best awkward conclusions, among other things. And so there are people out there that are very interested in seeing their own kind only being in their space, associated with like the Pacific Northwest is often having some very disturbing implications put forth there of just being let's just make that, even if you come down to the basic conclusion that they put forth of, hey, we just want there to be only people that look like us here. They never quite answer the question, even if you ask them nicely, or if they're talking nicely about, so what happens with all the people that don't look like you? And ends up pretty quickly in intimations of either ethnic cleansing or just a whole lot of worse things going on that I'm not even quite sure I can fully talk about on the radio. So that's where I draw the distinction that anyone saying that, just diversity is going to cause this. No, that doesn't make sense. But there definitely are those out there that would like to stir, that would like to cause, that would like to see, again, carve out their own little slice where, again, only people who look like them exist. And that's something I'm fundamentally opposed to. That make it a little bit clearer for you?
Yeah, but you said that, I have noticed, because I follow what you say very closely, that you defend this view of racial balkanization, when like, here's this quote when Barbara was defending that white supremacist post saying that there was nothing racist or white supremacist about it. You told her, I disagree with the finer points, like we're on an immutable path to balkanization.
Correct.
I think it is something that could happen if not handled right. How is that not you blatantly promoting the concern that a racial war can happen?
Do you think it's a virtual impossibility if there aren't certain people who would foment and push it forward even then? There are literally people out there that are want to do this. There's even stranger ways it's put forth. There's, I can't remember the correct phrase for it, but the X across the country movement, one I discovered the other day, where they want to join in one political union like Washington State and Florida, and then like a strip of territory along the whole way as another way to look at an ethno state. Like there are absolutely people out there that are pushing that idea of it, usually for their own in group. Do you deny that?
Of course, but that's not a legitimate concern. You're validating Barbara's white supremacist race war ideas by referencing those fringe groups that have zero potential to enact this white supremacist conspiracy theory being promoted by this racial balkanization narrative that you've repeatedly...
Let me make it clear. When I'm talking about the people in Pacific Northwest, those are white supremacists who want this. And it may not, like, they want this to be their own little ethno-state. So I am, again, make it perfectly clear, opposed to that and those that want to set it up. Again, just make sure there's no idea of it. So saying that diversity on its own would do this is wrong. I do not find that credible at the least. But also to say that, I mean, sure, if you say that you're not worried about them right now, fine. That is your decision to make. But I also look at the course of history and have seen how fringe groups can end up moving towards the mainstream if, again, not handled correctly and addressed directly, among other things. So you see this as a inherent fallacy, but I'm saying that these are two separate ideas, one of which is wrong and one of which needs to be talked about and combated.
Yeah, you're saying that a race war is possible. I want to say, which is just ridiculous. That's not a legitimate concern. And I want to say, like, from personal experience, I went to elementary school with some Spanish-speaking only kids, and there was a ton of racism directed towards the fact that they didn't speak English. And,
sure.
Over time, I look at them now, and I knew them in high school as they developed and grew. And they're American 100% through and through in values, beliefs, ideas, love for their country. And so this idea that there's this impossibility of cultural integration among these Christian immigrants coming in is extremely racist. And it goes to a point that these people making these arguments, like Barbara, have no clue what it means to be an American and what causes a person to love their country. And there's this narrative that these people are some foreign culture that are going to have some issue integrating into American society. And, that's just not the case.
I find it particularly laughable to say that would be a case in a community like ours. That is, I mean, the amount of people I know that are not even first generation, they are of a generation that were brought over here. Maybe that is technically first generation. They weren't born in the U.S. from immigrants, is what I'm saying, whatever the correct phrase for that is. Point is that we have a whole lot of people that not even just like, they just call themselves Mexicans, not even Mexican Americans, because they still either live, have strong ties to, or consider and strongly identify with that, and yet are part of this country and a part of the fabric of the society. And yeah, trying to quash that, say that now you don't get to exist. That's one of those points that I always bring up as a not up for debate, someone's right to exist. And I'm still firmly going to be in favor of that. If you're ticked that I'm not letting you essentially verbally curb stomp anyone else when it comes to their viewpoints on it here, let me just make this one point for you clear. Because again, I don't think we're actually disagreeing. You just don't like the way I go about it. And here's the thing, I don't assume anyone, based on their viewpoint or until proven otherwise, is an a-hole. That's just the way I take things. And if you're wanting to do that, you certainly can. I can't stop you. But you're wanting to do that and specifically do that to people on this program is, particularly if it's destructive to the conversation, the discussion that we always try to have, is not what we're going to support here. So we've gone well past the need for that next break now. So I do appreciate the point in the call and the, I think, attempt at understanding, but let's just say that apparently we are going to continue to disagree about the way we go about this. And again, I contend that treating someone like they're an ass is not a good way to start the conversation. If someone has a bad point, as I am more than willing to call out, we'll do that. So let's go ahead and take that next point and call right now. Or actually, we absolutely got to take that break. We're looking at maybe only doing a 3 segment for this first hour right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls, we'll get to more comments, more of everything. But and I've gotten a lot of feedback on how we take calls sometimes. But if you're actually willing to discuss with me, willing to get into the discussion, I'll just say that. Anyway, taking that break, back after this. Want to get on the line? Number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador was in Juárez today, just days after a fire inside a migrant detention center killed 39 people. In a news conference this morning, López Obrador said he will be meeting with the doctors treating the 28 migrants who were injured during the fire. The fire happened at the National Institute of Migration and Immigration Detention Center in Juárez on Monday at about 10 at night. The Associated Press has reported 5 of the 6 people believed to be responsible for the fire have been arrested and are facing charges of homicide and causing injuries. López Obrador said his meeting with doctors is part of a planned visit to Juárez on unrelated matters. And officials with Border Patrol in El Paso say misinformation was what caused a large group of migrants to surrender at the border wall in El Paso on Wednesday. More than 1,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, surrendered themselves to agents after reports indicated that migrants may have been misinformed regarding current immigration policies and initiatives. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Southbound on Loop 375 in the East Valley, a crash is blocking the right lane. That earlier crash I-10 westbound of McRae is cleared. Still slow traffic from Sumac to the 54 Patriot, 5-minute delays. 54 southbound, super slow. Stan Roberts to Kenworthy, a 30-minute delay. Eastbound Montana, Hawkins out to Zaragoza, 11-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the CBS 4 Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, will be a little bit on the breezier side today. We'll have a little bit of those light winds around 15 to 25 miles per hour. We'll see those mostly sunny skies, colder temperatures as that cold front did pass through yesterday, bringing us those gusty winds, and a little bit of those colder temperatures will be in those 60s for the highs today and in those 40s for the low. We'll warm up pretty nicely into the 80s for the weekend. A little bit of that breezy weather sticking around.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A. Copyright 2023.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Empowering customers this spring, El Paso Electric presents Smart Meter Technology. Coming soon to your home or business in 2023. Smart meters will transform the way you use energy. Get ready to take control of your energy bill. Get ready for state-of-the-art smart. Get ready at epelectric.com/smart meters. That's epelectric.com/smart meters.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
You've probably read The Lorax and the Grinch, but do you know the story behind the stories? We'll have the story of both of them. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, and let no one ever say I'm not willing to have the debate and discussion, even if I am maybe a little bit too willing to indulge it if it's an actual discussion. If you just want to shout at me, I mean, we can deal with that too. But if you actually want to talk about things, yeah, willing to do that. But also just the discussion, having the discussion, doing about it, and having the people bring up their points is absolutely something we're always going to do, kind of what we're about. Other commentary coming in, among other things, earlier on, John Brazelton on the whole point about, what was it? Besides owning a lot of weapons, saying, wildlife like deer will starve to death each year in Colorado and Wisconsin because they are not being harvested. Overpopulation of the population in those ways, the animal prey population can be an issue, and that's one thing that hunting is intended to. And then I think Marky Mandingo saying, now I want some venison chili. Haven't had that before. Have to try that out next time I get a chance. Anyway, more calls in line, and we'll keep squeezing them in. We'll have this segment, and at the end of the segment, go to the top of the hour here because, okay, maybe sometimes I'm my own worst enemy. But anyway, let's go back to the phone lines right now. We do have Stephen on the east side right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew.
Yeah, there, Stephen. What's on your mind?
So yeah, I was just listening to the information on the news over the break, and it reminded me of something I had said a long time ago about the migrants being misinformed about what the current policy is.
Oh, sure.
And so what I said a long time ago is that what is going to drive the numbers of people coming to the border is their perception of whether or not they will be able to get in and stay or not. So if they think that they can get in and stay, and that's something that they can find out, you hear from other people, what are the numbers, friends, family, people who know what the law is, they're getting guidance maybe from people in their country, or maybe the coyotes are giving them tips and tactics and those kinds of things.
Sure.
And if there's a perception that they can get in and stay, then you're going to get lots of numbers coming to the border. And if there's a perception that they can't get in and can't stay, then that will lower the numbers. So if there's been a policy change, it'll take some time for that information to flow out and for it to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this another way about the information marketing campaign, more way I've put it, by the cartels themselves, because this is essentially what they're always putting out of oh no, you'll totally be able to get there. I mean, how the hell else do you convince people to give up tens of thousands of dollars, all of your possessions, et cetera, to do this if they weren't like, oh no, you totally can get in. No, it'll totally happen. And then they fleece them for more by either trying to keep them in camps, just manipulating them, putting them in the stash houses. It's not a good system. And that's the information. That's why I kind of referred to as mimetic warfare is kind of what we're dealing with here, where information, just an idea, can cause such a mass response. And I don't necessarily fault anyone involved in that for thinking. I mean, we think about the access of information and how they get it as being totally available and sure, but also consider in that situation, you hear a bit of information and everyone around you has also heard it as well. People start taking action and they start moving. That's not quite mob mentality, but oh man, other people are doing it. Am I going to miss it out? I can see panic setting in. Absolutely.
Well, if the policy is and has been catch and release under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration, then the cartels aren't lying. I mean, they'll catch you and then they'll release you into the country, and they might even pay for your bus ticket, your plane ticket, or send you where you want to go. So a lot of times that information is actually accurate.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying there, and I do think that is a major part of the contribution, and that if there is going to be a policy change, the continuation of either Title 42, which I still expect to end, or a more concentrated use of Title 8, the actual removal hearings proceedings, as opposed to processing through with asylum hearings, that needs to be made 100% clear. I mean, the catch and release system, as much as I hate using that to refer to humans in the first place, has had a lot of problems even up to this point, and this is, another shade of it.
So the other reason why I wanted to call is that, of course, the big news is about the indictments of Donald Trump and everything.
Sure.
And what I thought was an interesting part of this history is this happened around the same time as Hillary Clinton was paying for the dossier, the information that was going to be formed basically as disinformation campaign against Donald Trump. And so they paid these people, Fusion G, create this document that was used to then incriminate Donald Trump, and the FBI used it so they could justify spying on his campaign and everything. So what happened was it was around the same time that this non-disclosure agreement was made with Stormy Daniels, and both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton marked it down on their forms as, like illegal fees, legal costs. And so to pay a fine for that. And Donald Trump is getting indicted for a felony for a similar offense. So that's kind of how that works.
I mean, the whole indictment, I know I got at least one bit of flack online from anyone just trying to randomly send me Instagram messages. Don't know how you expect that to work out for you, about how historic things going on. Well, we were talking about the local stuff that we often always do. So if you're wanting to talk about it, hey, you can, particularly on Friday. But if you're shouting at, you didn't mention it when we're a local flipping radio show. Anyway, personal gripe there, not exactly to your point here. And I think it seems like Steven dropped there. So didn't mean for you to get off the line. But let me just say this on that. When it comes to anyone who wants to see the president go away forever, I gotta say, if that's like the sum total of goal, and still support the idea that equal justice under the law, everyone should be held accountable, and yet if that's your goal of wanting the former president to go away forever and not be a part of all of this, the proceedings, the elections, etc., this is not the one. I got to say, at least it doesn't, like, I could see this even weakening the other parts of it. I got to be honest with you, of the actual, like, political downfall that they're calling for. But if you're just giddy about it being removed overall, good luck to you. We'll see how the case proceeds. Kind of agree with previous Andrew about wanting to see more on the charges information and actually how it proceeds. I will say this, whatever he did and should be held accountable for, I will also say that you got to admit that there is at least a little bit of political implication going on here. Just be honest with yourself. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that break and get to the top of the hour right now. I know we are just blowing up my breaks and messing up my clock over all of the place, but we'll get back on track, or this as close as we can with this next segment. So if you're on the line, stay there. And if we're coming back after this break, so lines are going to be pretty well full up throughout all this show. That's just the way it works. But if you want to get on, remember that number to use. So 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash in the East Valley is causing big delays. Southbound Memorial Highway at Montana, an accident there's blocking the right lane and a 33-minute delay. On the 54 southbound Stan Roberts to Kenworthy, it's an 18-minute delay. I-10 westbound from the Loop to the Patriot, it's a 5-minute backup. And traffic slow with 5-minute delays eastbound on the 10, Trans Mountain to the Patriot. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories.
You've probably read The Lorax and the Grinch, but do you know the story behind the stories? We'll have the story of both of them. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Paid for by government.com. The 1878 to 1921 Morgan silver dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It's been 100 years since the last Morgan silver dollar coin was struck for circulation. And now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government struck Morgan dollars are being released to the public. That's right. You can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Morgan silver dollar coins, all in very good collector condition with fully visible dates and mint marks. Guaranteed. Call 1-800-969-0686 now to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan silver dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack valued at over $25, free with every order. Call 1-800-969-0686 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan silver dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-969-0686. That's 1-800-969-0686.
Can Vivek Ramaswamy become the next president of the United States? He tells us why he believes he can on the next episode of the Tudor Dixon podcast, with new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Good Feet Store, improving people's lives 2 feet at a time.
News on the hour and the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. There are more than 600 injuries linked to a tornado that tore through Little Rock, Arkansas. That's according to Metropolitan Emergency Medical Services. The gigantic twister hit a densely populated area of the state capital. It tore off roofs and blew out the windows of shopping centers. Giant trees were uprooted by the wind, impacting this Little Rock woman.
And then we came out and there was a tree on my car.
There are tornado warnings for parts of Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Texas. Plans are being made for former President Trump's indictment on Tuesday. After flying into LaGuardia Airport Monday night and spending the evening at Trump Tower, Trump will head to the 100 Center Street Courthouse to turn himself in at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. News 4 New York reports he will not be handcuffed, but taken to a 15th floor courtroom to be fingerprinted, and he might not be forced to take a mugshot. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson says Trump should step aside from the 2024 presidential election. In an interview with Fox Business, the Republican said the office is more important than the person, and the indictment is a distraction. He said he doesn't support an indictment of Trump, but noted it's important for the legal process to run its course. An assistant director on Rust pleads no contest to a misdemeanor charge related to the accidental fatal shooting on set. Lisa Taylor has more.
David Halls is the first to be held accountable for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. He was the movie's safety coordinator and will not serve jail time, but instead serve 6 months of unsupervised probation. Halls will also testify at a hearing in May for manslaughter charges against actor Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the film's armorer.
The Dow Jones gained 415 points to 33,274. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Pope Francis is expected to leave the hospital on Saturday. Michael Kastner reports.
The Vatican said the 86-year-old Pope is expected to be discharged on Saturday after he was taken to the hospital on Wednesday for treatment of a respiratory infection. A Vatican spokesperson said Francis will participate in a Palm Sunday Mass at St. Peter's Square.
Outraged New Jersey lawmakers, along with alumni and staff at Princeton High School, are reaching out on behalf of the journalist detained in Russia. Detainee Evan Gershkovich went to the school and was captain of the 2009 soccer team, which won the New Jersey State Championship. Soccer coach Wayne Sutcliffe told reporters he's fielded a raft of messages from soccer alumni, all of whom want to find a way to help support Evan's family. More than 58 million birds have died nationwide from the avian flu outbreak, and while the state of Virginia looked immune, a recent discovery showed some infected birds. Rebecca Hughes has more.
For almost a year, Virginia poultry farms managed to avoid the nation's worst ever avian flu outbreak. However, in January, a commercial turkey operation in Rockingham County discovered the virus, necessitating the killing of more than 25,000 birds. A state veterinarian tells Virginia Business a number of migratory birds flying through Virginia is causing the disease's spread here. Thankfully, migration is expected to taper off in mid-April. In 2021, Virginia poultry farmers produced 14.5 million turkeys and 284.5 million broiler chickens. State officials confirm avian flu is definitely very significant to the business.
Saturday Night Live returns this weekend. Abbott Elementary creator and star Quinta Brunson will be hosting. Brunson said hosting is a dream come true and also credits SNL alum Tina Fey with inspiring her to get into comedy. Next weekend on April 8th, SNL alum Molly Shannon will host. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories.
You've probably read The Lorax and the Grinch, but do you know the story behind the stories? We'll have the story of both of them. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You probably already know that Rosetta Stone is one of the best ways to learn a language. But did you also know that they offer a lifetime subscription to all 25 of their languages? Dabble in French, try your hand at German, learn a bit of Japanese, or even explore Swedish. And right now, you can get 40% off Rosetta Stone's lifetime unlimited subscription. Visit rosettastone.com today to purchase once and learn for life. Rosetta Stone, how language is learned.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest-rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
It's Elliot in the morning.
Rover's Morning Glory.
Booker and Stryker.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
Alter Ego, are you ready?
All of the best free curated playlists.
Nobody does it better.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
Hey guys, this is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
We're the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. And as I always say, careful what you wish for, because we definitely get into the issues today. Free for All Friday. That's what we call it. That's what we do as we just metaphorically open up the floodgates, drop those metaphorical conversational conversational elbows. So if you're really wanting to, we get into it. Get into all the issues that we aren't able to fit into the week that y'all want to bring up, because there's never enough time. So might as well make the best of it. Those dropping those likes from reacts we always appreciate, including Bernadette Bandicole, James Ratcliffe, Robert Haynes, Glenn Stewart, Amber Banda, Ida Beza Gardner, James Holmes, Angel Rueda, and it never quite shows me all of them. So I know there's a few more out there that we certainly also do appreciate. So let me see if I can give you your due justice. But also some more conversations and other people chiming in other ways. Of course, I have those phone lines open, if pretty well going to be jam-packed throughout this entire show, I got to say. Also, those three that I was missing, Marky Mendingo, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes, we certainly appreciate y'all as well. Because you were early on in the show doesn't mean you deserve any less respect. But what I will say is that if you want to get on the phone line at this point, best option is to wait until one ends and then keep that phone number handy, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Let's go ahead and get back to the phone lines now. We do have Raul in the Northeastern line with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, you know what I want to happen to Donald Trump is what he had his rally goers chanting about Hillary Clinton. Lock him up. Karma is what I call that. And talk about the politicization and weaponization of the judicial system. Lock her up, they were chanting.
Mm-hmm.
I want him held accountable. I want him brought to justice, which is happening at long last. I was beginning to fear that the rich and powerful have a get-out-of-jail-free card. And the probable charges, coming from Georgia and D.C. and Special Counsel Jack Smith are going to be a lot worse. Inciting an insurrection, stealing government documents, interfering with an election. Now, on another topic completely, I regret not being able to attend Congresswoman Escobar's meeting today in reference to the Kasner Range. But I'm going to suggest that they rename the Kasner Range Las Sierras de los Mansos de El Paso, Texas. I don't know who Kasner was. Probably some military guy. Hope he wasn't some kind of Southern guy, Southern General Confederate dude. But we need to change it, that so that it reflects the character of this place and the people who were first here, as far as we know. I'm a history political news junkie, and this was a historic week that saw the unprecedented indictment of a former president who also suffered 2 unprecedented impeachments, the second for inciting a coup. Now, Donald Trump, having lost the popular vote, was brought to us by the anachronistic, undemocratic, and unrepresentative Electoral College, and Vladimir Putin hacking the internet and social media to help get his useful idiot in the White House. So another problem with the Electoral College is that winner-take-all of the electors' allocation. That disenfranchises voters. It disencourages voters. It takes our power away. In Texas, for the presidential runs, you might as well not vote. That's why I voted for third-party candidates in most cases out here, because it doesn't matter. Now, they really ought to allocate those votes proportionately. For example, in the last election, 45% of the people voted for Democrats and 55% voted for Republicans. And, of course, the Republicans got all 38 of the electoral votes. They should be allocated proportionately, which would have allowed 17 of those votes to go to Democrats, and then 21 goes to the Republicans. That would be a lot better system if we have to suffer this idiot thing called the Electoral College.
I'll say this on Electoral College. I'm not a huge fan of it either, but the thing about it's not going to happen is because the people who get in power from it are under there's no incentive to change it. And so it takes someone coming into power to be able to change it. And yet when it comes to presidency, I mean, sure, technically this could come from the legislature, but given the fact that this is not just a law, this is the Constitution, like it's literally laid out in the Constitution, this would take a constitutional amendment, and that's not in the scope of the previous group we talked with, I'm forgetting the name offhand. Let me look it up here in a second. But the ones pushing for that version of the Constitutional Convention, COSA, there we go, Convention of States Action. Yeah, that was going to bug me. I mean, sure, that could be done, maybe not through that group and their push, but in other similar types of efforts. But the impetus is that whoever comes into power on it, why would they change it? And anyone who has the power to change it tends to come into power through it. So, I mean, sure, there have been similar systems, such as the election of senators going from appointed and voted on by the legislature to being the direct election by the citizens. And yet in this one, I don't think there's enough political will to actually see a change of it coming there.
No, of course not, because, again, you get the best politicians plutocrats can buy. They like it so that you have minority rule in this country when the majority of the people are against, for example, all kinds of stuff that the Republicans are championing. The Republicans are all about culture wars. So that's where they're at. They don't really have any policies other than the SOS of tax cuts for the rich and deregulation of the economy. I've heard that, and don't do anything about guns. That's where they're at. Oh, yeah, and of course, global climate change. Well, it's not happening. It's a hoax. It's another Chinese hoax out there. So it's messed up. George Soros, by the way. Now, the right is demonizing George Soros. The right and the Republicans. Republicans in the House were talking about him. Now, George Soros is a self-made billionaire who escaped Hungary and the Nazis when he was a little boy. And then he went to the London School of Economics, and he became a currency trader, and he's done very well. And he contributes money to liberal causes and individuals through his foundation called the Open Society Foundation. But he's a good guy. I'll take him any day over the Koch brothers or the other born rich bubble boy like Donald Trump. This guy made it on his own, fled the Nazis, but they're demonizing him and saying that he's controlling D.A. Bragg, who's an animal, and they're trying to whip up the violence. I hope nothing bad happens, but Trump is whipping up the violence, and once he's got in this court system, he keeps on doing that, then he's going to get a gag order, and then they're going to get him for shooting off his dangerous big mouth that gets people hurt and killed.
I mean, I am going to continue to decry political violence overall, but specifically political violence. Anyone who says, there is no political solution just has no legitimacy in my mind, and I will continue to stand behind that. And I will say that as much as you, again, fervently don't like the former president, whenever it has come to actual legal consequences, like statements for it, I think that the biggest achievement in the long run that is going to be seen when it comes to particularly those two previous impeachments that happened is that they never actually got the president deposed. Because, of course, what was Bill Clinton actually impeached on? It was lying under oath, lying to Congress, among all the other things that went on. So I think that he's also got the best lawyers money can buy, or at the very least, he's gotten quite a cadre of them. So I don't even necessarily see that coming to pass. Again, if you're foaming at the mouth for it, sure, whatever. You're entitled to your opinion, even if that opinion is also entitled to examination. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah, if you don't like him, you want him to go away, okay, good luck with that. We'll see how it works out. But I got to say, if I was of a similar mentality, let's just see whatever he gets with him, this is not the one. I got to say that. This is, sure, if you just want to see, heap upon heap of possible penalties put on him, but this is something that has been most accurately described in my mind as a starting with a misdemeanor and building it up into as big of a case as possible with, describable motivations to it. On the Soros thing, I basically see Soros as the left-wing version of I believe it's the Koch brothers. Yeah, I know that the word is, former Koch brothers, there's only one left. It's spelled Koch, but I do believe it's pronounced Coke, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, if people are getting aspirations about his background, particularly since he was a youngster in the era of Nazi Germany, here's a hint. Sure, the Hitler Youth may have been analogized to Nazi Boy Scouts, but there also was a complete lack of voluntary. Like if you were there, you were a part of it, or you were not having a good time. I'm just gonna put that way. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Appreciate the point in the call and the very many twists and turns it took, but we'll take more of those and get to more points on the line. So if you're wanting to call in and add your 2 cents, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Delays have disappeared on the southbound loop in the East Valley on Memorial Highway, southbound Montana Avenue. That accident has cleared. All lanes are back open. 54 southbound is slow. Stan Roberts to Kenworthy. 20-minute delays. Heavy traffic on the I-10 eastbound, Trans Mountain to the Patriot with a 7-minute delay. And southbound Global Reach is at a standstill. 35-minute delays from the Spur down to Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Are you tired of listening to stories that are saturated with wokeness? If you are, then you should try Red Pilled America. We tell good old-fashioned stories that align with middle America values. Listen to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
Is your tub worn out, but you're not sure who to trust to replace it? With over 2 million successful bath remodels, people trust Bathfitter because we know how to do it right. We've been custom designing and manufacturing baths for over 35 years. Our unique tub-over-tub installation takes as little as a day with no demo to fit your busy schedule. And we offer a lifetime warranty on every tub. That's how confident we are in our quality and durability. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Hi.
I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Parents, are you tired of helping put your kids' shoes on? They're squirming, watching cartoons, anything but helping. Luckily, it's Skechers to the rescue. Introducing new hands-free Skechers slip-ins. Footwear you can just get your kids to step into and their shoes are on. You don't need to bend over. You don't need to sit on the floor and try to wrangle them on. And they're available in all types of Skechers styles with and without laces, and most are machine washable. Find Skechers slip-ins for kids or mom and dad at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Progressive presents an ad from Mom.
What does it say here? Bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive and get protection round the clock. You know what? I'm sorry. I think it should be around. What are you signaling? Me to stop talking? Oh, all right. I'll stop talking. No, just had to tell me. That's all you had
Get
to
round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier than getting your mom to make this radio ad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Okay, I'm not saying that I consider myself famous for being on the radio, but if anyone's trying to call me on my cell phone during the show, like, get a damn clue. Okay, personal gripe aside. Though, a lot of those phone calls lately, not necessarily during the show, has been something y'all been talking about with solar sales. Not as in like sailboat, but in salespersons. Well, actually came to my door last night, and when I mentioned that, oh yeah, no, I've spoken to the El Paso Electric about what their policies are. Please tell me your perspective on them here. They got a little bit quiet. It was kind of funny. Hey, being informed can pay sometimes. No, I didn't end up signing up because I'm mortgaged out the wazoo as it is right now, but we have some further thoughts on that. Anyway, if you want to call in, remember the number to do so, 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. And if you consider me mentioning knowing El Paso Electric's policies as shilling for them, I really don't think you know what shilling is. Just gotta say that anyway. And just to prove that we don't always talk about politics, my obscure object of desire at the moment, if anyone's going out to the AMC theaters in town to see the D&D movie, and no, I'm not shilling for them either, but I want the popcorn bucket. It looks like a giant D20, and I'm going to do everything I can to get my hands on it besides like actually throwing elbows. Anyway, back to those phone lines now, full up, but keep that number handy. We do have Jerry in Northwest in line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Andrew, I want to go back to the gun debate.
Sure.
And the issue with people stating things that are not true on your radio station.
Okay.
Okay. First one is the results of the 1994 assault weapons ban. And I looked it up. Okay.
Okay.
The place called factcheck.org. Factcheck.org for all your listeners out there, if you want to research it yourself. Did the 1994 assault weapons ban work? Now, this was written by Robert Fairley, and it was written in 2013. Okay, and the study was done by the Senate Judiciary Committee, and they had an individual named Cooper, or Copper, it's Koper, Christopher Copper, that did the study. I'm going to read something that he said. Mr. Cooper or Copper said, okay, on this. And this was January 14th, Mr. Copper wrote, what we found in this studies was that the ban had mixed effects on reducing crime with the banned weaponry due to the various exemptions that were written into the law. As a result, the ban did not appear to affect gun violence during the time it was in effect. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And he also said and stated in there that long guns or those assault weapons were only involved in 2% of all the crime that was committed. Now, that fact has not changed. It's still 2%. If you read articles today, you'll find out that it was still 2%. The long guns with that people call assault weapons, which they are not assault weapons. In fact, most of them are used. They're used more in self-defense or self-protection than they are used to assault somebody with.
I mean, sure, it's not exactly the act that's being described there. I mean, my perspective on the entire term assault weapons is, at the very least, the way it's enshrined in law and the places that it ends up being about features, like accessories that are on the rifle. I mean, they are primarily rifles, and they are like essentially cosmetic. They don't do anything to actually effectuate the function or changes to the function of the action of the rifle.
Correct. They go what people call assault weapons. They go by the looks, and if it looks ugly and it's black, it's an assault weapon. But if it looks pretty and it's brown or pink, it's not an assault weapon.
Yeah, though again, the sniper rifle phrase is waiting in the wings, but that's another discussion.
Okay, but that's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
Now the other thing, the next one is people are saying that there is no background checks. Well, according to the law, Public Law 108-159, November of 30th of 1993, yes, every sale that is sold by either an FFL, which means a federal firearms licensed dealer, or a producer, or a person who trades in firearms, has to run a background check. And that is run through an FBI controlled place called NICS, NICX, which stands for National Institute of Criminal Background Checks System. And they have to be done legally. Otherwise, the individual that sells them or builds them can lose their license and do prison time in certain cases. So it behooves the seller that at these stores and even at the what they call that, the loophole that they have. I can't remember the name of the loophole. It's a gun show loophole, they call it.
Yeah, gun show or private sale loophole is the way it ends up getting phrased. I think what you're getting at.
Okay, in the law of I can't remember the name of it. The last one is 308 because I remember that. It's
okay.
The FOPA, Firearms Protection Act of 1986.
Okay.
It's Law 99-308. It states in there that individual sales do not have to be run through the through the NICS or run a background on them. Okay, in the NICS, there are certain things that are required. One of those things is if people have a warrant out for them, or if they had a felony performed a felony, they will not be able to buy a weapon.
Yeah.
Let me read some of these others that are here. If they have an indictment or have been convicted in any court crime prohibiting punishable by imprisonment more than 1 year, or a fugitive from justice, unlawful use or addiction to any controlled substance, they are not allowed to have it. Okay. But I guess that doesn't apply to people called Biden. Anyway, has not been adjudicated for mental defectiveness or a mental illness or mentally instituted. is not an alien discharged from the armed forces with a less than honorable discharge or a dishonorable under dishonorable conditions. And then there's another one here. I can't read it; it's too small. It has to do if they have had oh man, lost my thought there.
Well, let me try to summarize here for a second. I think you're basically going down for anyone who has filled out that ATF form 4473 that then goes into the firearm transaction record and then gets supplied into that NIC system. These are all the questions that you select yes or no to. Sounds about right?
Yeah, yes, sir. And
okay.
Those are run through the local law enforcement, even up to the FBI and the ATF, BATF. They all look at it. And they have so many days to say yes or no to decline that thing. Now, there was a lot of them. There was over 1 million declinations or declining requests, declined requests last year. All right. Let me go to number 3. The items of number 3, people say that they don't want to take our guns. Well, of course, according in the 2020 election, let me tell you the people that said yes, they want to take our guns. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Cory Booker, and I don't know if these are senators or congressmen, Michael Bennett, Steve Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. I know he's in the Biden administration. Julian Castro, Amy Klobuchar, Tim Ryan, Bernie Sanders, Joe Sastek, Tom Steyer, Andrew Young, Wayne Massam, Maureen Williamson, Michael Bloomberg, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Governor Gavin Newsom, the governor from Colorado, I believe his name is Polis, the governor from Michigan, I can't remember her name, the current governor in Arizona.
Whitmer, I think.
So, yes, they do want to take our guns. Oh, one more thing about the shootings and the 1994 Gun Control Act. I looked it up. School shootings from 1970, January 1st, 1970 to December 31st, 1979. There were 42 school shootings. From January 1st, 1980 to December 31st, 1989, there were 62 school shootings. From 1994 to 1999, there were 64 shootings, school shootings. 3 of them were mass shootings. One in Colorado, which is Columbine, one in Arkansas, and one in the state of Washington. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's being put out, Andrew, that's to people that is not true. They need to look this stuff up themselves. They don't need to listen to people like Raul or your porta potty prophet out there from the east side, Eric.
Okay.
They don't need to listen to them. Look it up yourself. We're in a time frame where people lie all the time just to get information. Another one that they need to look at was a study that was done, and it ended in February of 2022, and it is called the National Institute of Justice, and it's a government-funded study. Public mass shootings database amasses details of half a century of mass shootings with firearms, generating psychological histories. And what they're saying is both majority of all these mass shootings is because people have psychological or trauma issues, or they're going through some kind of bad day. They're in states of crisis.
Okay.
So we're being lied to out there, and there's a lot of people that's believing it, and they want to do it just to take away our freedoms.
There's definitely a lot of rhetoric that happens on there, and this is definitely one of the issues. There are many, including like reproduction and how those things work, that based on statements that have been made by elected officials in a variety of capacities, including the internet is another good one, that make me want to like have a test that you have to pass. Like, sure, you've been elected to office, you can do good things, and you can try to pass legislation. But if you want to sit on these specific committees that deal with these certain things, you got to pass this simple written exam with basic questions about how the hell reality works with this subject you're dealing with, because there's a whole, there's so many phrases that come to mind. The shoulder thing that goes up, barrel shrouds. There's so many things that are, oh, well, what is this? And I have experienced this directly, not even just in political life and seeing what the hell politicians are talking about or pulling out of their posterior, but also even in newsrooms. Whenever stories were coming up about this, I've had an interest. I've studied these things. I currently hold an AR-15 armorer certificate, so I'm fairly well qualified to talk about the internals and the mechanisms that work in this particular firearm and the ways people just didn't understand it. Even beyond the whole it's a magazine, not a clip kind of debate that, yeah, is accurate, but it's also pedantic as hell. I'm just going to say that right now. And the fact that people just aren't able to describe succinctly what they're talking about is fascinating, and it would be funny if it wasn't real life.
Well, I'm just saying, you're going to lose your rights if you don't stand up and look up the truth. Don't take anybody's word. You look it up yourself.
Yeah,
the information's out there. Okay.
It's kind of like the political. It's kind of like the political version of
get your information.
Yeah, like the political version of reading the headline and then not the actual story. It kind of feels like.
Yes, they're being baited. They're being bait and switched. Basically, they're being baited. They're falling. They're gullible. Don't be so gullible.
Fair enough. I'll agree with that.
Andrew, I appreciate you allowing me to spew this out there, put it out there, because it's important. The Second Amendment is part of our civil rights.
Absolutely. And I will always agree with everyone, for actually using their rights as they see fit.
But thank you, sir. You have a good day and you have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too as well. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. And with that, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. Yeah, we're getting on depth on some things, but hey, it's Friday and it's what we do. And I was trying to look to see if I had one of those sound clips being brought up there, particularly from the former El Paso congressman, but I don't have that handy. I need to get that handy. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Again, you're tuned into Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. More calls online after this. Keep that number handy, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador was in Juárez today, just days after a fire inside a migrant detention center killed 39 people. In a news conference this morning, López Obrador said he will be meeting with the doctors treating the 28 migrants who were injured during the fire. The fire happened at the National Institute of Migration and Immigration Detention Center in Juárez on Monday at about 10 at night. The Associated Press has reported 5 of the 6 people believed to be responsible for the fire have been arrested and are facing charges of homicide and causing injuries. López Obrador said his meeting with doctors is part of a planned visit to Juárez on unrelated matters. And officials with Border Patrol in El Paso say misinformation was what caused a large group of migrants to surrender at the border wall in El Paso on Wednesday. More than 1,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, surrendered themselves to agents after reports indicated that migrants may have been misinformed regarding current immigration policies and initiatives. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
On Gateway East at Viscount, an accident's blocking 2 right lanes and causing some slowing. I-10 westbound slow, 8-minute delays from the Loop to the Patriot. I-10 eastbound Trans Mountain to the Patriot's a 7-minute delay. And the 54 southbound still slow, Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy with 15-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the CBS Forewarned Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, we'll be a little bit on the breezier side today. We'll have a little bit of those light winds around 15 to 25 miles per hour. We'll see those mostly sunny skies, colder temperatures as that cold front did pass through yesterday, bringing us those gusty winds, and a little bit of those colder temperatures will be in those 60s for the highs today and in those 40s for the low. We'll warm up pretty nicely into the 80s for the weekend. A little bit of that breezy weather sticking around.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Are you tired of listening to stories that are saturated with wokeness? If you are, then you should try Red Pilled America. We tell good old-fashioned stories that align with middle America values. Listen to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Empowering customers this spring, El Paso Electric presents Smart Meter Technology. Coming soon to your home or business in 2023. Smart meters will transform the way you use energy. Get ready to take control of your energy bill. Get ready for state-of-the-art smart. Get ready at epelectric.com/smart meters. That's epelectric.com/smart meters.
I'm Ben Ferguson. And I'm Ted Cruz. Alejandro Mayorkas just testified in the Senate and lied about the crisis at our southern border.
And Senator Cruz lit him up. You won't want to miss the fiery cross-examination.
So download our podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by Verdict with Ted Cruz.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know.
Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We got a lot of stuff we're getting into today because that's kind of the point of today, Free for All Friday. And yeah, we're coming towards the conclusion, but we'll still squeeze a bit more in here. So let's go ahead and get just straight back to the phone lines right now. And again, for the random people who send me messages, you can disagree with me. Certainly don't have to agree with me. But if you're unclear on the concept of this being a talk show and me being the host of it, and therefore I'm going to talk, I don't know what to do for you. That's like it's a tautology at this point. Anyway, we do have Frankie Messia on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Okay, your belief is the correct pronunciation of C-O-C-H is correct. It is Koch.
Okay.
Koch.
I thought so.
Das ist richtig. Das ist der Name auf Deutschsprachen. Anyway, listen,
Okay.
I want to talk about Proposition K again.
Sure.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record. Now, I've been looking at the website of our great district rep, District 33 here in Mesilla, Michaela Lara Cadena, and I don't see anything on her website relative to the municipalization aspect, at least.
Okay.
El Paso Electric. Now, I know you're going to be bringing on some guests. I think I'm going to wait until you bring the guests on and then see what they're going to say, and then maybe I'll send an email out to her, heads up. Because I'm the only person that seems to call you from New Mexico, for crying out loud. Nevertheless, just give her a heads up. Now, having said that, I got a bug up under the saddle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I keep hearing these talking heads on TV and radio going on about how the representatives, the current elected representatives, are all chicken, are all cowards and whatnot and so forth because they won't do something specific to gun stuff. Now, wait a minute.
Okay.
Why are they a coward? The people elected them because they let's look at the what's her name, Buggery Thuggery, her district, and then Lauren Boulevard, her district. The people voted for them to stand on the fact about the gun stuff. So why are they beating up on the congressperson when they should be beating up on the constituents? Now, if the Bobart or Muggery would say, oh, no, I'm going to vote for gun control, she'd be out of office by the next election. So this is so stupid to keep saying that. There's nothing to do with that. It's the constituents, not the elected official. Gee, that's my opening comment.
I don't think you're wrong. I think that the people who keep saying that, which among other things notably would involve the current president, it's a political pressure point to actually I'm going to needle you on this. I mean, it's a rhetorical point, and ultimately, I mean, you could flip that around and saying, so people in Congress of the other side of it, or even in the White House, so you're just not going to do anything on this or find anything else to be done about it because, I mean, in the meantime, that's just saying, well, they're not doing anything, so they're the bad ones, and just kind of sitting back on it. I mean, I agree with you, essentially.
Well, listen, and I don't want this to sound horrible, and don't misread or read in between the lines, but I would honestly believe if a number of those Republicans that are so anti-gun or so for gun stuff had some of their family members killed, I honestly believe they would still vote for it because it's more important for them to stay in that elective office. Don't misunderstand me. Don't read in between the lines.
Okay.
Straight out comment, all right?
All right, fair enough. I mean, people are accountable to their constituents, and those, you kind of got to dance with the one that brought you whenever it comes to those that actually put you into office. So, I mean, sure. Yeah, that's a not unreasonable point, I will say.
Well, I like how you phrase that. You gotta dance with the one who brung you. I love that, Andrew. I love that term. That is so great. Listen, that's all I want to say. You have a great weekend, okay?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point of the call. You have a good one there as well.
All right, bye.
And I will say, we're definitely going to be talking a whole lot more about Proposition K and the facts of it. And we have a strange conversation going on about Wikipedia in the comments. Let me say, the trick I learned and the way to actually make it useful, anyone can edit Wikipedia. And so, take it with a grain of salt. You go to the sources and look at the sources that are cited within Wikipedia article. And that's where you actually start doing your reading. At least that's the way I use it anyway, if I do end up using it. And a lot more commentary going in, and political stuff. Marky Mendigo, I think you might have a point there. Anyway, let's get to at least another call or two on the line. We do have Johnny in Central on the line with us right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm just going to get right to it. I on both sides of the house, I just hate to see how cowardly these politicians are. I say, if you worried about keeping a job, that's the only reason that you do things that most of the constituents are against. I don't think you need to be on the job, just like anybody else who has jobs out here in the private sector. I'm talking about the gun. This guy, a couple of calls ago, was throwing daggers at these politicians who said they was going to take the gun. Just sometimes it amazes me how people can kind of use terms, I think the term was either buy back or take back. And if I had my way, I would say, if you don't have a license for the weapon, especially I'm talking about the assault weapons, take it. If they can show papers that they bought them, pay them a certain amount of money, what weapons is worth, and get those weapons off the street. I don't understand what the passion is for these assault weapons. You can't do anything with them, except go out and kill people. As I said, most of us have weapons. If I had an assault weapon, I would either give it away or sell it gladly. I have a little 9-shot revolver that I bought about 40 years ago. It's the only weapon that you cannot take from me. It's for protection, and I also bought it as a souvenir. But all these other weapons, I just don't understand why these people are just. And then one more thing, every time there's a shooting, thoughts and prayers. But they will not try to pass a bill to get rid of those weapons. It just blows.
I mean, I think I get what you're saying there, that, I mean, you appreciate arms in its own right. And I think a lot of people end up coming to that because, again, we're talking about the high 90% percentile of those types, this classification of weapon that never even been used the commission of a crime, much less an actual assault or murder in that case here. I mean, literally, the AR-15, the reason it comes up so much is not even necessarily because it's used in all these incidents, but it's the most prevalent, not even just assault rifle, but rifle, period. Just rifle in the United States. That has been borne out by a whole lot of stats. And so the fact of the matter is, we're talking about these being, I mean, you can do whatever you want with yours. And if you make that choice for yourself about wanting to give it to a buyback, surrender it, whatever, that's fine. And you can certainly do that in your own life, but then forcing others to do it on something when they have literally never committed a crime, never even gotten close to it, ends up smacking a bit of, are we actually focusing on the issue? Because again, when we're talking about those that would be giving it up if they were trying to stay and follow the law and not become essentially at that point outlaws themselves, would be 90% not effective on what is actually the problem and the problem that is wanting to be addressed.
Well, I keep hearing people say that they want to keep it for protection. You can't not protect yourself with an assault weapon. I've said many times, if someone breaks into your house and you grab the assault weapon, you're going to probably end up killing everybody in your house trying to get the one who invades your house, because the gun just scatters like a fan or something. You can't aim it, you can't do anything with it. And once you start showing, and most of the people who I think your caller did mention that some about training, most of the people who probably own those weapons don't know anything about a weapon. Not only an assault weapon, they don't know anything about any guns, period. And they will, as I said, probably hurt their own friends and family before they ward off an assailant to trying to break into their home. That's what bothers me too. But anyway, that's my thoughts, Andrew.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, I appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
You too. Thank you.
I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of, opinions on this, but I also got to say, if you're finding yourselves spraying wildly with any firearm, learn how to use it. This where the whole judicious marksmanship part comes in. I mean, this is why I also do encourage training. If you don't know how to use it, either A, don't have it, or B, learn how to use it. I think we have time for one more quick call on the line here. We do have Marco over in Central right now. Marco, we got about a couple minutes we can give right now.
All right, brother. How are you doing?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
All right. Man, I really just got to address Raul real quick here.
Okay.
Raul was talking about George Soros.
Sure.
And that's just straight up gaslighting people.
Okay.
That man collapsed the sterling and almost sent Great Britain into a depression when he collapsed their economy. Secondly, you can go to PBS on YouTube. Just type it in. George Soros interview on PBS. You know what he said? The greatest time of his life is when he was collaborating with Nazis to literally betray his people and turn them in. So he never escaped Germany. That's a lie. He stayed in Germany. His family was extremely affluent. Remarkably, his family made it through that whole Nazi ordeal. They were all right. They had their money, and so they went on. And so for Raul to sit there with just this straight face and say, this guy's a good guy, no, Raul, know your history. You say you're a history buff? Bull crap. No, you're not a history buff, because you literally just condone a Nazi, literally a Nazi collaborator who helped round millions of Jews up, and you saying he's the good guy? Really? Get a clue, Raul. The stuff you say sometimes is just absolutely stupid and absurd. And I really got to call you out on that. So, and if you don't believe me, go watch the interview on PBS. He literally says that. That's the greatest time of his life, is collaborating with Nazis to turn his own people in. So, Raul, please, stop gaslighting people. You're not an intellectual. You say things that are absolutely absurd. And I was going to call you out on that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about really was
briefly, if you can,
just this bill that's about to happen here, going up against TikTok. And hey, I don't like the format of TikTok. It's been proven that if you use TikTok for over a year, your attention span reduces.
Yeah.
So you start literally taking segments and scenes by 15-second intervals, and it's super dangerous. By the way, the TikTok that they have in Japan is longer, and they don't show degenerate stuff to kids. Like,
I think you mean China.
The way they view TikTok is completely different than the way we use TikTok. Finally, I want to say my hearts and prayers go out to the families and those children that lost their lives out there. I have lots of friends that are in the gay community that are LGBT, and it made me upset. But at the same time, it's a single nutbag who goes out there because he feels isolated. But that's not to blame because of any bill. That's strictly to blame because the media just keeps telling him that, dude, you're being genocided. What do you expect is going to happen? Like, you're literally gaslighting people daily. I mean, I bet you right now people believe that Donald Trump's going to go to jail. I hate to tell people there's a good chance this judge is going to throw it out. And if he doesn't, higher courts are going to be like, this is stupid.
I mean, that's a whole another conversation, and one that we've touched on a couple of times here. But tell you what, we got to take that break right now. So I do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there and a good weekend. We're going to try to get back, finish this last break, and finish out the show because we got a couple more things we want to tell you about, particularly what's coming up for you here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this quick break on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 east and westbound going through downtown looking pretty good right now. I-10 westbound only 6-minute delays from the Loop to the Patriot. I-10 eastbound from Trans Mountain to the Patriot, it's a 6-minute delay. In the lower valley, there's congestion. Heavy traffic is blocking the exit ramp on Border Highway eastbound at the Zaragoza exit, and slow traffic on the 54 southbound is easing up. Only a 5-minute delay. Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Are you tired of listening to stories that are saturated with wokeness? If you are, then you should try Red Pilled America. We tell good old-fashioned stories that align with middle America values. Listen to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
Find dinner inspiration and stream BarbaQuest at beeflovingtexans.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
All right, we are beyond out of time here for this show. So I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show in every way. And I do mean that sincerely. If you actually want to participate, talk about the things going on that affect us here or that are important to you, we are here for it as we are every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So a couple notes for you. We're going to be talking more with some of the in-depth reporting in town with over at El Paso Inc. that next week for you. Working on some more of those financial interviews. There's, of course, a whole lot more coming up for you when it comes to Proposition K, the other local stuff, immigration issues. These are the constant ones coming up lately, and so we're working on more for you there. Also, be sure to tune into the El Paso History Radio Show this weekend. We're talking about some changes going on with a lot of this different stuff involving preservation, including a local organization dissolving the Trost Society in order to be absorbed by Preservation Texas. Talking with the executive director there about what will be going on, how they're working to promote heritage tourism, among many other things here in town. So there's a whole lot there. Tune in that tomorrow, 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM and streaming on, well, my pages, Andrew J. Polk, and also on YouTube, El Paso History TV. So we'll have to leave it there for today because we're super out of time. So I want you all to, until we're back live with you on Monday, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when y'all are out on the road, and have a great evening and a great weekend, and happy opening day for the Chihuahuas. We'll see y'all next week.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 east and westbound going through downtown looking pretty good right now. I-10 westbound only 6-minute delays from the Loop to the Patriot. I-10 eastbound from Trans Mountain to the Patriot, it's a 6-minute delay. In the lower valley, there's congestion. Heavy traffic is blocking the exit ramp on Border Highway eastbound at the Zaragoza exit, and slow traffic on the 54 southbound is easing up. Only a 5-minute delay. Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Golden Voice presents Power Trip. Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, Tool. You'll have pit tickets for the entire Power Trip weekend. VIP camping at the Safari Tent Campground. All thanks to Golden Voice. Register now to buy tickets at powertrip.live. On sale April 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Enter for your chance to win now. iHeartRadio.com/PowerTrip.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart
News
radio
on the
station.
hour
And a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Arkansas is bearing the brunt of a tornado outbreak in the Midwest. There are reports of perhaps hundreds of injuries and widespread damage after a tornado ripped through Little Rock, Arkansas, destroying homes and displacing homeowners like this one.
This is not a safe, we cannot stay here. It is completely not livable. So that's what we're trying to do now before it gets dark.
There are reports of 2 other tornadoes that hit the state. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders has declared a state of emergency. Meanwhile, there was a confirmed tornado in western Iowa and in Illinois. ABC News